What is up, guys? Ethereum has crossed $2,000. Actually, it's over $2,100 as I'm recording this. So that is really nice to see. We've got Bitcoin back above 30K. We've got Ethereum back above $2,000. And the market is just really coming back to life. So I wanted to make a quick update with my thoughts on what is happening and what I expect for the next couple weeks ahead. Alright guys, so this is awesome to see. Let's start out by smashing the like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, because there's finally some life back to these markets. I've been making these videos constantly, bull or bear market, but the bear market just is not fun and exciting. People are losing money. Everyone's, depressed and in a bad mood all the time. And the markets come back, and it's just so nice to see, because not only does it mean everyone is making money again, especially if they've been following this channel, but I've been saying the markets have turned bullish at the beginning of the year in January, when we got that reclaim of Bitcoin with the 3-day 50 moving average, and so far so good. So what I want to share with you is this chart. You may have seen it before. I don't know whose it is, so credit to whoever created it, but basically this is how the crypto markets have operated the last couple of years and how it still seems to be playing out. So you have multiple phases of the flow of money within the crypto markets and the different sectors that pump. So phase number one is Bitcoin pumps first. All the money goes from altcoins, all the money goes into Bitcoin. Bitcoin leads the way. We saw that since the beginning of 2023. Bitcoin went from 15,000 and it pumped all the way to 30,000. Then the idea behind that is that once Bitcoin pumps enough and the rest of the altcoins, even Ethereum, is left behind, people start taking some profits from their Bitcoin that they've bought low, and it starts to move into the lower cap coins, starting with Ethereum as the second one, which is, in my opinion, what we're seeing now. We've seen Bitcoin go from 15 to 30,000. Now we've seen Ethereum go from the lows that were around 900 to now 2,100. And then if this continues to play out in the way that it usually does, this not exactly like you have to have large caps and then micro caps, but basically the flow of money is Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins. That's how the flow of money goes, because as Bitcoin pumps, people make profits. Then they want more profits because Bitcoin's already up. So for 15 to 30K, that's a 2x. But another 2x is 30 to 60K. That becomes even harder to do because much more money is needed. But then we have, for example, Ethereum. That is a lower market cap. So that went from $1,000 to $2,000. So as that continues going higher, the same thing applies. People take profits from their ETH holdings. And then we start looking at altcoins, which are much more attractive because they're still way low and their market caps are much tinier. So it's much easier to get multiples in altcoins when they haven't pumped yet, because there's much less money needed to flow into the altcoins to do a 5x or a 10x. So that is typically the flow that we see: Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins. We are now in the phase of Ethereum, as you're obviously seeing. We just had the Shanghai upgrade that completed successfully. So now people are able to withdraw their ETH that they staked into the contracts finally. And there was obviously speculation that this might end up being a bearish event because all that staked ETH can now be unlocked. But we have to also keep in mind that people who staked their ETH really believed in Ethereum, okay? And they are the die-hard holders that are willing to take that risk and lock it up. So now that there is the ability to withdraw, many of those ETH holders might not want to sell their ETH. In fact, they might actually want to deposit more, because now it is proven that it can safely be withdrawn. So you can get yield on ETH. There are a lot of whales, a lot of people holding ETH that just simply never want to sell. And now that they can safely withdraw it, they might actually stake the ETH that they've been holding on to, because they didn't want to stake it because the risk was maybe too high that something would go wrong with the upgrade process, or that it could be delayed, etc., etc. So now there's a lot of people who had ETH, who were holding it, who were hesitant to lock it in without the ability to withdraw it. Now that they can withdraw it and it's all safe and proven, a lot of people might end up with staking that ETH, and that leads to no selling pressure, which leads to potentially more upside. And then we get to the fun phase, which is the altcoin phase and the speculation phase. When everything is going up, we're back in full-blown bull market territory, which we are, because the price of Bitcoin is above the 50 and the 200-week moving average, where the parabolic moves tend to happen. And once people start making money, we're in bullish conditions, they start speculating on those altcoins, on microcaps, on meme coins, on NFTs, and that might be the next phase ahead of us. Okay, so let's have a look at Ethereum, which is now finally at $2,100. Look at that move up yesterday. And in fact, actually, I did share this move in the VIP this leverage trade setup when we're right over here. I was saying we're looking for at least 2025, which was, you'll be able to see when I zoom out a little bit, that was the liquidity target. I actually talked about this a long time ago. Back in January already, I made a video when ETH was around 1600 saying the target was likely 2025, and that ended up playing out perfectly. You can see that is how the markets work. Again, based purely on just liquidity. There's a low, there's a high, the market chops around, and eventually it ends up taking out either the low or the high or both, simply because there's a lot of people betting on a direction in certain ways. People who were shorting it and have stops here, you know, that got taken out now. So this is interesting to see, and you can see we had a major rally here in 2023. So if I zoom out to the daily a little bit over here, you can see that was the initial target, and you can see actually there is a lot of obvious resistance over here. This whole level is a very important level. As you can see here from May 2021, it bounced on it again, it acted as resistance here, and now we are up against it again, around about that same level, 2100. Potentially we could go a bit higher, 2200, 2300, but we are starting to run into resistance now. And as you can see also, what is here the case is that we have a bearish divergence as we are running into this resistance. So I have been saying for a couple of weeks already, I made the videos here on the channel, that I do think there is potential for a shakeout or a correction in May. As the saying goes, sell in May and go away. There's also the lunar eclipse that is happening on May 5th. If you look at what happened in 2022, there were two lunar eclipses. The first one happened in May where Terra Luna collapsed, and the second one happened in November where FTX collapsed. So last year, 2 out of 2 lunar eclipses were negative events for the market. You can say it was a whole bearish market and a bearish year. True, it doesn't guarantee that anything has to happen, but as we are leading into this point, sell in May, right? We have bearish divergences on Bitcoin and on Ethereum now. On the higher time frame charts, we're talking about daily. As we are running into resistance, the market is starting to get a bit more euphoric. There's more greed starting to come into play. So be a little bit careful. My thoughts, what I'm leaning towards right now is, like I shared with you, the flow of money, Bitcoin, Ethereum. If we get a mini alt season now, where a lot of altcoins start pumping and do a 2, 3, 4, 5x, potentially in the next 2 weeks, leading up to the end of April, that might be a time to take some profits, get cautious, maybe hedge yourself against a possible drop. Now, what I will say is that I do not know if we get that drop in May, if that is going to be the top and we end up like 2019 where we drop for the rest of the year and go all the way back down. In fact, I actually suspect that this time could be a little bit different, where we could see that shakeout. Let's say Bitcoin is 30,000, maybe it goes to 32 or 35 this month, but then we get that sharp pullback in May. But as long as we stay above 25,000, the higher time frame bullish trend is intact. And if we get that shakeout, we drop to no lower than 25, and then we consolidate a bit, maybe we continue going for the rest of the year. So I have a theory that we might actually front run the halving cycle bull market that we've had so far. So let me explain that real quick. Basically, every 4 years is a Bitcoin halving, and what tends to happen if you go back on the charts is that the price tends to rally a little bit into the halving and then has a massive bull market after the halving. We've seen that the last 2 halvings, actually the last 3 halvings, okay? The last one was in May of 2020, as you can see here, and it was followed by a massive run to the upside. Now, the next halving is about to happen in April of 2024, which is in a year from now. So the expectation is that the cycle repeats and that maybe we go sideways or we drop like in 2019 all the way into the halving and then have a bull market after that. My theory is a little bit different this time. Time will tell if I'm right or not, but I think that it's possible that we actually continue the bull market this year all the way into the halving, just a little bit past the halving. So basically my idea is maybe we do something like this, we drop back in May or June and then just continue going higher, and sometime by the halving we peak out a higher high, new all-time high, and then much lower. And the reason for my thinking is, number one, it would be unexpected. Most people are not expecting this, which means they are off guard, they're shorting, they're not positioned, they're sidelined, and that would be very painful for most people. Second thing is what I've spoken about. I'm not going to go through that on the charts here, but basically rate hike cycle, meaning that the Federal Reserve has hiked interest rates. That's a nice tongue twister. Rate hike rate hike cycle. So basically, they've been raising interest rates now for the last year. And if you look at history, what has happened is that after a hiking cycle, the first rate cut is followed by a global market crash within 6 to 12 months of that crash. So my theory here again is that we will see a rate cut sometime this year by the Federal Reserve. After that first rate cut, based on history, what has happened the last times is that within 6 to 12 months of that first cut, we get a global market crash, which means that even if they cut, let's say next month or this month, we still have up to a year before the markets crash. And that means we could see major upside before they crash first, meaning that there is no room for a bull market after the halving, because in a year from now is the halving. So my theory is the Fed cuts rates sometime this year, whether it be Q2 or Q3. After that, we have up to 12 months before the markets crash, meaning that we see a major rally in the stock markets, potentially new all-time highs, and in cryptocurrency, meaning potentially new all-time highs by about Q1 or Q2 of next year, around about that time of the halving. Everyone gets euphoric thinking, hey, there's way more to go because the halving just happened, and then the markets turn around. Everyone is super bullish at the top. Things turn around and we crash sometime middle 2024 and we get a new bear market. So basically, we front run the halving cycle, and it happens now rather than after the halving. Time will tell if I end up being right. So basically, my criteria is we want to stay above 25,000 if we get a pullback in May. If we can do that, there's chance for continuation to 48,000, the Fibonacci golden pocket around about over here, but potentially for a run all the way to the all-time highs and beyond within the next 12 months. It'll be nice to look back on this a year from now and see how that ended up playing out. But basically, that is my big picture thoughts right now. We had a Bitcoin pump. We're having an Ethereum pump. If we get an alt season, if we see altcoins go 2, 3, 4, 5x within the next 2 weeks, we might be setting up for a pullback, a shakeout in May. If that stays above 25,000, then the bullish trend is still intact, and we look for continuation in June, July, August, and maybe for the rest of the year, and maybe the scenario as I played out here. So if you want to know more about this and you want to get these updates in real time, if you want to know what I'm buying, my thoughts on the charts, I do all of that inside my VIP membership, inside our Discord group. I'm in there every day. You can direct access to me and a community of over 2,000 members. The link is in the description down below. Just click that. You can come sign up, join. It's risk-free for 60 days. So come and join us, because these markets are moving fast. And if you don't position yourself, or you position yourself wrongly, it could cost you a lot more than the cost of joining the membership. So the link in the description down below. Just sign up. Come and join us. I'm in there every day. The markets are exciting, and we potentially have a lot of upside ahead of us. So come and join. I will see you in the next video. Make sure to like, subscribe, share.